Okay, friends, what do you want first? Do you want the good news, the bad news, the other good news, or the other bad news? You know what? Let's just take them in that order. The good news. This week, the FDA approved the COVID-19 vaccine for children under the age of 5. That's about 17 million kids who can now be protected from the virus. The bad news. A Kaiser poll from back in April found that only 1 in 5 of those children's parents plans to vaccinate their child immediately. That's about 13 million kids who won't be protected from COVID-19, even though they could be. All right, the other good news. A new study has offered a bold new strategy for convincing vaccine-hesitant people that vaccines are safe. Memes. Okay, and then the other bad news. That study also found that the strategy didn't work once vaccines were actually made available, which this vaccine for children now is available, alas. All right, let's get into a little bit more detail on all of that. Yes, kids from the age of 6 months and up can now receive either the Moderna or Pfizer vaccines. You may think that this isn't a big deal, but allow me to cite some stats from a multidisciplinary team of scientists and doctors who put together a very helpful PDF of info on the topic, which, of course, as always, I will link in the transcript below. During the Omicron surge this winter, children under 5 years old were hospitalized at a rate 5 times greater than when Delta was the dominant variant. Only about half of hospitalized young children had an underlying medical condition. The other half were healthy children with no prior conditions. Young children are also at risk of the rare syndrome known as MIS-C, multisystem inflammatory syndrome in children, which is caused by COVID-19. COVID-19 is among the leading causes of death for children in this age group. So this is a safe and effective way to quickly save kids' lives and ensure that they stay healthy and happy. The vaccines for kids under 5 are a lower dose than those for older kids, but in trials, they reduced infections by 37 to 80%, with few mild side effects and 0 cases of myocarditis, which COVID-19 can also cause, and which is worse if experienced due to an infection compared to getting it from a vaccine, which is awesome. All of that is great news. Unfortunately, yes, polls show that parents of kids under the age of 5 are hesitant to get those kids vaccinated. 18% of parents of children under 5 said that they'd get the vaccine as soon as it was approved. 38% said that they would take the wait and see what happens tactic. 11% said that they would wait until they were required to vaccinate. And 27% said they absolutely would not ever get their kid vaccinated. In the same way that this pandemic refuses to end, we also have to go through this dance several times a year now, I guess. How do we convince ignorant people to understand, accept, and trust the science on how to keep people safe, including their own children? All of which brings me to a new paper published this month in Computers and Human Behavior titled Preliminary Evidence That Brief Exposure to Vaccination-Related Internet Memes May Influence Intentions to Vaccinate Against COVID-19. In a series of 6 studies, the researchers showed thousands of UK residents a bunch of memes. Half of the subjects saw control memes that were just the images without any words or context, which was probably kind of weird for those subjects. And the other half saw memes like these that mocked anti-vaxxers. Okay, real talk, some of these suck ass, but some of them are legitimately funny. Like, I've been laughing at my blood hurts for the past several days. Anyway, after they saw the memes, the subjects were asked to indicate where they place themselves on a spectrum from anti-vaccine to pro-vaccine, and whether and when they plan to get the COVID-19 vaccine for their children after it was approved. You see, the first 3 studies were conducted in late summer and early fall of 2020. That was before the vaccines were available. The second 3 studies were conducted in November of 2020 after the vaccines were officially announced and a schedule was made to make them available. That becomes relevant in a bit. Sure enough, the group that saw the anti-vax memes were significantly more likely to say that they intended to get vaccinated and a little more likely to identify as a pro-vaxxer. Wow, so that's it then, right? The solution to getting parents to vaccinate children under 5 is to show them memes like this, and this, and this, and this. Done. You're welcome, children. Enjoy living. Or don't. I mean, we also fucked up the planet and now it's going to be a hellhole for the rest of your life. Sorry about that. Oops. Anyway, no, as I said at the top of this video, it's not that simple. The impressive results were mostly due to the findings of those first 3 studies that were conducted prior to the announcement of the vaccine. In the studies that followed, subjects who saw the memes mocking anti-vaxxers were equally likely to say that they would get vaccinated or get their children vaccinated compared to the control group. And they were actually slightly less likely to identify as a pro-vaxxer than the control group. And they were way less likely to say that they disliked anti-vaxxers compared to the control group. So yeah, for some reason, after the vaccines were announced, viewing mean memes about anti-vaxxers seemed to make people like anti-vaxxers more. So what's going on here? The researchers suspect that the early success of memes may be due to vaccine-hesitant subjects seeing them as coming from a source other than the ones that they already distrust, like scientists or government officials. That's right. Memes made by random bozos on 8chan are more trustworthy than the recommendations of your doctor to anti-vaxxers. There's also the possibility of a psychological trick that I've actually talked about before and gave entire talks about back when talks at conferences were things, which is the idea that sarcasm and humor might be able to bypass our rational thought process and influence us in a peripheral way. At the same time, sarcasm delegitimizes the anti-vaxxer targets, making them into social pariahs. Like, well, I'm not going to identify as an anti-vaxxer. Look at these memes. Everybody's laughing at them. But both of those latter things went out the window after the vaccines were announced and a big public debate began over vaccine safety and efficacy. That peripheral way that humor can influence us is only really effective for topics that we haven't really thought that much about or that we don't feel very strongly about. Obviously, by the end of 2020, everyone had a very strong opinion about the COVID vaccine, meaning that fact-free humor was no longer very persuasive. Everyone becoming an outspoken vaccine expert also led to us all realizing just how many anti-vaxxers are out there, including in our close social circles, our friend groups, and our families. For me, learning that just made me unfriend those people and be completely disgusted with those family members. But for a lot of people who aren't as securely in favor as vaccines as I am, it made being anti-vaccine more socially acceptable. So now when they see memes mocking anti-vaxxers, they see memes mocking their brothers or cousins or best friends, and that upsets them, causing the meme to backfire and for their sympathy towards anti-vaxxers to actually increase. So yeah, unfortunately, I guess we can't meme our way out of the pandemic. So what can we do? Well, Caitlin Jetelina is an epidemiologist and one of the scientists who helped create that PDF I mentioned earlier. She also has a great newsletter that I also link to in the transcript. So she points out that there are studies showing that trusted messengers can make a big impact. This is something that sociologist Brooke Harrington has discussed, which is the idea that when people are conned, as anti-vaxxers have been, the best way to help them see what's really going on is using a person known as a cooler. That's someone that the mark trusts and respects, who can gently lead them back to reality. Trusted messengers are crucial to persuading anti-vaxxers to wake up. And Jetalina points out that for parents of young children, the most trusted messenger is a pediatrician. But friends and family are probably a close second, with 21% of anti-vaxxers saying that they changed their mind and got vaccinated because of the people around them in their social circles being a good influence upon them. So that's why I decided to make this video. If you are the parent of a child under 5 and over 6 months, please understand that this vaccine is now officially FDA approved as a safe and effective way to keep your child and all the people around your child healthy and alive. And if you aren't a parent, but you know someone who is, maybe you can be that trusted messenger and encourage them to do what it takes to save kids' lives. That's all for today's video. If you liked it, please consider liking it officially with the button. And if you want to see more, hit subscribe. If you want other people to see more, leave a comment to please the omnipotent algorithm. If you'd like bonus content, including Q&A live streams and newsletters and other stuff, head on over to patreon.com/Rebecca and sign up to support these videos, even when the omnipotent algorithm is displeased with my subject matter or my filthy mouth. Thank you for watching, everyone.